Welcome to this eLearn security video lesson on creating a timeline using TSK and Introduction to Timeline Explorer. In this video, we will create a timeline using SleuthKit and show you how to use Timeline Explorer, which is a very useful tool to analyze your timelines. Let's get started. Here we have a case called Hacked Box. We'll use this case to create a timeline. We will be using a tool called SleuthKit FLS. What we want to do with this tool is generate a timeline of events that have happened against all the files in this forensic image. Here, we can see all the options available. From these options, we will need the name of the tool, FLS. Next, we need -m to add from where our root directory will start. We will need O in the image offset because this is not a single file system. This is a complete disk. So we will need to specify at what exact space that partition of interest is in. We will also need -z to specify the time zone, and then we have the image. We will also be adding -r to go recursively and -a to display the dot entries. If we enter this, it tells us that it cannot determine the partition type because it is a disk, it is not a single partition. Media Manager has a tool called Media Manager List, which can display the partitions found on the disk. Now that we have the partitions, we can specify the offset because this is the partition we need. The offset is -o, and we can just copy this here. Now, let's try -r as we want to go recursively through this image, and then we can say that we want our directory root to start with C. So we will have C:, and then the full path to the file, and then we can add the time zone, which is PST. And now let's add the case itself. Let's press enter. This is what the output looks like. It will generate a body file, and the body file is an intermediate file which is separated with a pipe, which can be fed to another tool to generate a timeline. Let's go back, and this time, let's call bodyfile.txt. It may take a little bit of time, depending on the speed of the machine and the size of the forensic image, but let's just wait a little bit until this finishes. Now we can use the MacTime tool from the SleuthKit package, which will convert this body file. Let's go here to see what options we have. We just need to specify that we have the -b option to specify the body file. And now let's type in body file. Actually, we need to type in MacTime -b and then bodyfile.txt. Now we can generate the timeline by redirecting it. Let's type in timeline.csv. We'll be saving it in CSV format because the Timeline Explorer will understand it. Also, I can make a comma-separated value using the -d option, allowing for the output to be in a comma-delimited form. Let's add this option, -d, to our MacTime option, and now let it run. This will convert the body file that we created and convert it to a timeline. Now, let's go to timeline.csv to see what it looks like. And we see that everything is comma-separated. Now let's copy this timeline we created, and I want to add it to my Windows desktop so that we can use Timeline Explorer. Timeline Explorer is a very useful, easy-to-use tool. It has a lot of features. I'll show you a couple of them. Timeline Explorer is developed by Eric Zimmerman. As you may recall from the course, Eric has a lot of Windows forensic tools, and I highly recommend you use them. This tool is very easy to use. Let's go to File, Open, and then specify the file you want to open. It will take some time to load the whole file. Here we see that the tool organizes the items based on times, attributes, the modified access, the metadata of the file name, and the line entry. One useful feature is the search. Say for instance that we want to search for a file named ntuser.dat. Be mindful of where your scroll bar is. When we immediately scroll to the right, we are not able to see all of the data, but scrolling to the left allows us to see the rest of the data. Say we're interested in the timestamp. We can go to the drop-down menu here and select timestamp so that it pins the timestamp for us. If we scroll, we still see that the timestamp is now fixed, which allows us to navigate easily through the results that we found and keep the timestamp because maybe it's the most important thing here for us. Also, if we go back to the search bar, we can click on the arrow buttons to go through the entries. If we no longer want the timestamp to be pinned, we can click on the box to the right of the drop-down to unpin it. And if we want to clear the search results, we can click on the X button here. Another useful feature that I like is the color column. This has been added so you can use it to group entries based on colors because Timeline Explorer can differentiate events. Let's now go to the legend. Here we can see a breakdown of what each color means. So, if a file is opening, it will have this light green color. Web history will be yellow, deleted data will be black, execution is red, device or USB usage will be blue, folder opening will be dark green, and the log file will be white. Colors are helpful because you can group based on these types of events. So here, all we need to do is right-click on the color column and select Group by this column. Here we can see that the timeline has been grouped based on color. So here, we can see only the deleted files. Here, we see all the opening files. So as you can see here, we can easily manage to filter our results using this feature. If you no longer want it, you can just ungroup it, and everything will go back to default. Another great feature in Timeline is being able to narrow down events to a specific time. We will be dealing with what we call temporal proximity. Here, what we can do is go to this icon at the right of the timestamp column and click it. Now, we can filter based on a specific time period. Let's try it out and select only events that have occurred in 2015. Now click OK. Now we see a really short list, and we have narrowed down the events. As we scroll through, only events from 2015 are showing. Under the timestamps column, we can also sort from ascending or descending. So as you can see, this is quite useful. We can apply the best fit to the file name. This tries to fit it in the best way possible. Now, let's group by color. As we can see here, we narrowed down the results even further to all results that happened in 2015. These are the open and deleted results based on the groups that are found. Timeline Explorer is quite useful, and it makes analyzing timelines very easy. You can even save. When you open Timeline again, if you've done some organizing, you can go ahead and specify the session you want and open it. Along the bottom right, we can see total number of lines, which is not much as there are some systems that might reach more than 1 million entries. So, you really need a good tool filter. Here, we can see the filter that's been applied. There are other types of filters we can use, like the date filters, which gives us the option to be even more specific. We can also export this into an Excel file. We can see that it's exporting to an Excel file. This is great if you want to analyze it in an Excel sheet. In this video, we covered how to create a timeline using SleuthKit, as well as how to use Timeline Explorer, which is a very useful tool to analyze your timelines. And this concludes our video lesson on creating a timeline using TSK and Introduction to Timeline Explorer. As always, thanks for joining us.